Hi guys, welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. We are buzzing to be joined today by Amy Bevilacqua. She is a mum of five. She is an endurance coach, an elite 15 athlete. She just came seventh at the World Championships in Nice, and she holds the world record for the 50 to 54-year-old category. Um, just as we've got into the off season now, we've managed to sit down and have a chat with her. So we are buzzing to get you on the podcast today, Amy. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's our pleasure. We're really excited to find out a bit more about your Hyrox journey. But first, I just wanted to ask, are you enjoying a bit of chill time? And I know we just had a quick chat before we started there. You've been cramming in all the appointments that you were putting off whilst you were training. But has it been nice to kind of sit back and take in everything that happened in Nice?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I mean, between Anaheim, which was end of May, and Nice, which was beginning of June, I don't think I realized how exhausted I was until a few days after I got back home. And then I just slept and sleep all the time. I did take a few days completely off, but I do like to get some sort of movement in, but it's nice to just be able to do whatever I wanted, and just sleep in the morning. You don't realize, I think, when you're in the middle of all that adrenaline and thinking about the races and how much, like, how up you are and how your nervous system is just on. So definitely after 3 or 4 days, it hit me. And I just, as I said, I scheduled all the eye doctors and dentist appointments and doctor's appointments for after Nice and after my kids finished school. So these couple of weeks I would just sit in the waiting room and I'd be like, my eyes and my head would start to tilt and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm tired. But yeah, no, so I definitely physically took some downtime. I told myself, give myself to July 1st. And it seemed like a long time to wait, but then as the weeks rolled on, I was like, oh, I could get used to it.
And yeah,
And then I was thinking,
no alarm clock.
yeah, no, and I'm like, now it's July 4th, and I have yet to do a really, something really structured, but my brain is starting to go more than my body. But yeah.
That's amazing. It's awesome that you actually took some downtime as well. Like it's very important to did you take time to like reflect on what happened as well, just mentally to take it all in?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I was so excited and I had such a great time. I was listening to all the podcasts and everything and all the news about the races and all the Instagram posts for weeks afterwards. So I was sort of processing it that way. And now that the preseason is starting, I'm gonna definitely try to come up with a plan on what I want to do, how I want to train this coming season. And I know where my weaknesses are. It's kind of like glaring. I'm not sure how to fix it besides doing more and more and more wall balls and trying like hit target, which is now the size of a dime.
Oh,
I thought I was like good to go, and then they like shrunk the target down. But yeah, figuring out a balance of the running and the strength work and stuff like that. I think I'm in a pretty good place overall. I was happy with how my first season went, but there's always things to tweak.
Yeah, absolutely. And touching on that, then how did you find the race, the world champs, the Elite 15? I know like the girls, like Lauren and Meg, go out really quickly at the start, and a lot of people were expecting that. Did you have your game plan and your race plan, and you knew how you wanted to play it?
Yeah. Did you see me the first lap?
yeah. I mean, you were very composed.
Clever.
We were like,
No, I told, it's funny thing because they did some interviews the day before, Hyrox World, the people, and they said, "What's your race plan?" I said, "I know they're gonna go out fast. I'm 50 years old. I can't go out that fast, and there's no reason to go out that fast because I can't run with them. Like these are girls that are running probably, a 17:35K. I used to be able to do that, when I was purely running 15 years ago, but I can run maybe 19 minutes. So I don't need to run that fast. So if I were to go out that fast, I would just destroy my entire race, be miserable the whole time. So yeah, by after the sled push, I had kind of made up. Everybody else settles into a pace. And so what's the point? I don't understand, unless you're really going for those top spots. For me, there's no reason to sprint out in the beginning. So I don't.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that shows, like, obviously you've got a lot of experience in sport. Like you said, your experience with your running, I think it does show like experience if you don't get pulled along in that, because especially when there's only 15 of you in the race and you're thinking, oh, I'm not up there, like yeah, it would be hard. I don't know, I know I'd struggle. Even if I knew I couldn't keep up, I think I'd probably still be like, oh god, am I going to fall behind? So it shows experience to help hold back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I understand that it's a huge race and everybody's got all this adrenaline, but there's only so much that adrenaline could do. Like, if you can't run a certain pace, you're not going to be able to run it just because it's the world champs, unfortunately. Like, you'd like that to be true. And you also don't want to, I don't know, I don't mind being last, in the first lap, because it's just the first lap, and then, and to start up, especially, it's different every race. As I've gotten older, the importance of a good warm up, like, it's harder for me to go from 0 to 60 than it used to be. When you're 20, you don't even barely need a warm up. Your body will just kind of go with it, although it's always better. But we get a nice warm up, but then we're called down to the starting pen, and we were there. I think we're supposed to start at 6:15. I don't know. We were about half an hour late, and it was basically just standing there. So your warm up has sort of worn off. So then you got to go, and I can't. My body doesn't do well with that. You spike into this anaerobic level right away, and you can't hold on to it. So and it was very hot. So it was kind of race where you had to be careful. And I think, I don't know if it's the heat or the pace in the beginning, but I think a lot of the girls just were thrown off by that. There's a lot of cramps, there's a lot of heat stuff, more so than a normal race, I think, especially for girls at that level. So, but yeah, I don't get tempted to go out. Like, I just don't.
No, you know yourself, your body, what's the smart thing to do. And I mean, yeah, you came 7th, so it shows like that. What the positioning is, that first running lap is nothing. There's a whole race to go.
Yeah,
like
there is.
Yeah.
How did you find the sleds, Amy? Because you said you managed to catch up by the time you left the sled push. How did you find the sleds compared to, we know they've been a bit controversial, obviously, with like Lauren struggling a little bit on the sleds, some of the other girls saying they found them quite heavy. How did you?
I found them to be average. My times were not as fast as other times, but physically, while I was there, I didn't really notice a difference. I like, the sled pull is always harder for me than the push. But yeah, no, I didn't notice them being any heavier than normal. I do notice that Lauren's sled looked heavier because I came out with her, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, I thought I probably got a penalty. But at that point, I wasn't going to ask.
Have a little conversation.
What happened? But no, I was stunned that I was coming out of a sled pull with her. But yeah, she, actually, I think we came into burpees kind of, and then she got her groove back.
Yeah. I mean, it was impressive, wasn't it? Watching her come back was just incredible, to be fair.
It was. No, I thought either she had, some sort of physical problem going on, or she probably got a, but apparently it was just, she had a hard time with it.
Yeah, one of those days. It's hard, isn't it, to always peak on the right day? It's like people that are you train for ages for the Olympics, and everyone expects them to go and get gold in the like. You can't always peak on that one day. I don't know. Like,
yeah, no. If you look at the Elite 15 women's times, overall they were not the fastest times across the board. There were, a lot, even many of the age groupers. If you compared the times, of course, the courses are slightly different as far as the grid definitely slows things down, I believe. And the judging that we were under was incredible. I mean, when I was doing my burpees, I was doing them so carefully because I was afraid to put my fingers just 3 inches too far. I got one warning, and then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do these nice and slow because I don't want to have to go do more.
Make sure they count.
Sled pull. I think my heel cut into the tape in the back, so I got a warning, and then after that, you get that penalty, and it's just not nice.
Yeah, it's a brutal penalty, isn't it, with the sled pull, to have to go and do that again.
And the lunges on the grid, having to stop and turn around, it just slows things down. You have this natural sort of inclination to rest, and when it's a nice straight line, or even a straight line that kind of, then you can walk around a corner, but like physically doing that 180-degree turn, I don't know, but and the heat, is very hot, so you have to be careful. I know I hydrate and take snacks with me, so
I think I saw at Anaheim, you didn't do it in the World Champs, did you? I don't know whether it's because you couldn't, but you did have a waist belt on with hydration.
Well, Anaheim, because we don't get a table, like, because I like to have electrolytes in my water, so and I have a hard time drinking from the open cups.
Yeah.
Because I can't get it down without stopping. So yeah.
So did you have to? But you had a table.
Yeah, at the elite major races and world champs, we can put our own stuff on the water table. Okay. So they have water, and then you can leave your own stuff. So then I just grab the bottle and usually take it with me, put it in my bra or something for a lap, and then put it back. So
cool. I mean, I think that's really interesting, because there's a lot of like Elite 15 that don't do anything. They don't drink water. They don't take any electrolytes. Like like Lauren Weeks says she has a Sour Patch Kids, which sometimes she eats, sometimes fall out when she does the burpees. But yeah, you obviously are quite in tune with your nutrition. And
yeah, maybe that's because I'm older. Maybe it's because I've had some experiences in racing with underfueling, and I'm afraid. But I'm used to fueling during races. I don't have gastrointestinal issues with taking water and electrolytes, and I use Cliff shot blocks during the race, because they're just about the right size. Usually I take about 3 or 4, one every 10 to 15 minutes, with some water. I just find it gives me peace of mind, maybe more than anything else, but as long as it doesn't have a detrimental effect, I figure why not,
Yeah, whether it's like a placebo effect that you think it's doing good, or whether it is doing good, like if it's not doing any harm, why wouldn't you give it a go? And you're obviously used to it, so
yeah. No, I just the feeling of bonking, not having that glucose available, it's like the worst feeling, and I've had it happen to me, and I just would rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah, you definitely don't need that doing lunges and wall balls at the end, for sure.
It's hard enough as it is anyway, isn't it? Imagine if you bonk at the end of it. Your background then, Amy, if we take it back, because obviously you're saying you've like hit that wall before. Is that in like your background in running? Like where did you start? Where did your athletic career start? If we take you right back to school and then move forward,
As a child, I did gymnastics pretty seriously, not to a national level or even a collegiate level, but about 10 years of pretty serious gymnastics. So I think like that kind of laid the foundation for just general body strength, body awareness, how to move through space efficiently, how to fall, you know, just sort of a basic foundation, which I'm grateful for because I think that helps with everything. And then I got into cross country and track, did that through high school and college. And I think, you know, that's where I learned the fundamentals of just how to train for any endurance event. You know, the intervals, the VO2 max, the threshold, the tempo, the hill work, the long, steady work, recoveries. So that kind of, and then I did some road racing, never got to an elite level with that either. Once I got into triathlon, I did get to the pro level. I was a very good cyclist, not a good swimmer.
And what distance triathlon is that?
I mainly did, well, I started out with sprints and then I got into Olympic distance, which is, you know, the 1,500 meter swim, 24 miles, 40K bike, and the 10K run. 10K run. So I did a couple of half Ironmans, but that was a little on the long side for me. I don't know. I mean, I know you guys did, I heard on the podcast that you guys did like 100 marathons in 100 days or something. Like, that's my idea of a nightmare. But I do think, you know, as far as an Olympic distance triathlon, the intensity at which you have to go is very similar to a Hyrox, especially for me, because my swim, technically, I never got good enough to be able to really push my heart rate. I was never comfortable enough in the water. So it was always kind of more of a warm up for me. Like I just had to get through it, be calm, and get to my bike. And then once I got on my bike, it was a very steady, manageably comfortable, but uncomfortable pace. But then getting off the bike and facing that 10K with your legs feeling like that.
It's like coming off a sled.
Tougher. Much tougher, actually, because your legs are like jello and you have to run more than 1,000 meters. You have to run 10K and, you know, up hills. And so I think that definitely, that feeling you never forget once you've done it. And it definitely makes Hyrox not look easier or feel easier, but it's the same feeling, if not worse.
Every time you're doing a 1K lap, you're like, at least it's not 10K. It's only 1K.
You know, my triathlon, the one that I always did very well in was the New York City Olympic distance triathlon, because it was a down current swim. So the swim was be very fast and the gaps would be small. So, and then you'd have the bike. And so by the time I got to the bike, I was usually in contention, but then you get off and you're at the bottom of, you're at the west side of Manhattan and you have to run up 72nd Street, which is not a huge hill, but it's definitely an uphill. So you get off and so you got to run straight up this like long, gradual, sunny, hot uphill, and your legs feel like just jello. And then you got to get into Central Park and do all the hills. So yes, after I come off the sled or off the row, I always think, okay, I just have to make it like 3 laps and then I get to do another station. And, you know, so I can do this.
Yeah. It's good always sometimes to have something to relate it to, isn't it? Like because the feeling in the legs is almost exactly the same. Yeah. So.
and then what about training wise? Like, how's your training kind of changed from, so if you're going from a triathlon kind of background, like competing at that level, I guess you then switched to focusing on maybe adding more of the strength work in, or?
Yeah, well, actually, then I went to strict road cycling, which
okay,
here we go.
Nice.
Because I just couldn't handle the swimming anymore. I got frustrated with it, and I was always cold, and I didn't want to work on it, and I really like the cycling. So, but there were ups and downs with that for me too. Wasn't a huge fan of riding downhills in large packs of people. It would always make me very nervous. But as far as the training goes with that, and I actually got to the point where I sort of flip-flopped because with the cycling, you need virtually no upper body strength. Like it's like zero. And, you know, you look at the Tour de France riders, not the sprinters, but the GC contenders, general classification, they're just twigs. Like,
so yeah,
no, because it's a power to weight ratio and it's all about that. So as I was doing that for a few years, I just focused on legs. You know, everything was legs and, you know, cardiovascular and just powering up the hills. But again, cycling also taught me, you know, you'd ride for 3 to 4 hours, right? But during that ride, about 80% of it would be easy. And you just have these like short, fierce bursts where you have to respond to other people's moves. And then you'd have maybe a sustained mountain climb at the end of the race where you'd have to just grind it out for half an hour of like sheer torture. Like, you know, and then at that point, strategy goes out the window and it's all about your engine. But until that point, you know, you have to do these bursts and then you have to be able to recover and you have to. So I think, you know, all of that's kind of all those sports, you know, sort of gave me the feel for parts of Hyrox and how to put it together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, feeling of the intensity that you need to maintain, but also the ability to kind of go hard and then recover. So I think you kind of, each thing I've done, I think has contributed to the success I've had in Hyrox in its own way. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'm just saying this purely out of this question out of my interest. What average watts would you push out? So if you did like an FTP test, like a functional threshold power test, what are you pushing out? I'm just intrigued at your level, what people are pushing.
I actually still have my charts. I used to do it, and this was before like all the technology. So I used to actually have my husband every like minute he would write down the watts that I was pushing because I didn't have a formula. But I remember getting the ratio I had was it was pretty good. It was like 4.5 maybe.
Oh, for like power to weight ratio. Yeah, like anything. Yeah, that is impressive.
Power to weight put me up between like national class and world class.
Yeah, 100%.
For cycling. I was very, I think if I had to, you know, if I went back in time, minus having 5 kids and wanted to find a sport that I could have possibly made the Olymp, you know, like done very, very well in, it would have probably been cycling.
If you were pushing that and you weren't training as a professional, you're pushing like right up what some of the female pros. I think it was
near 270, 280 for the 20 minutes. And I was a few pounds lighter. So, you know, but again, it was the ratio. And then you start and you see where it put you. So yeah, I would do stuff like that before a stage race and be like, okay, this is my FTP. This is what I'm coming in at. I should be able to win the mountain stage of this race. The other stages are tricky, but the mountain stage is usually the most important one. So yeah. So those are fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. I geek out on stuff like that, don't we? But
and I like
to ask that question.
Usually in these stage races, you know, they're ones I did were between 3 and 5 days, and they'd start without a time trial, and then they'd have a couple road stages where the sprinters would do their thing, and then finish with a mountain, you know, the mountain stage. So, yeah.
Cool. Happy days.
I mean, you have an impressive background. So how on earth did you fit in having 5 children? This is what I want to know.
Well, I had like ADD as far as sports go, because I'd sort of like be all in, and then I gotta get like, okay, I need a break. So then I'd have a baby.
I don't think many people would call that a break, but
because it was kind of like, I remember like during triathlon, I think I went to St. Croix and did a half Ironman, and it was horrible. like I cramped up on the bike, and it was May. I mean, it was beautiful there. We had a little vacation. I think I had a 1-year-old. We brought him down, but and I said to my husband, I was like, yeah, I think it's time to have another baby break. So we had a baby, and then, you come back, do something else. And it's really, it's kind of like a forced rest.
Yeah, it is ish. And not rest in another way. Well, it's very impressive. I think what you've done and what you're still achieving is absolutely incredible. Like,
I'm not saying I'm not trying to make light of okay, any professional athlete can just go have a baby. You can't. I couldn't, if I had wanted to race cycling, road cycling professionally, they have to have they have to be able to go to Europe for 6 months, and travel. And so I wouldn't have been able to get to that level because I wasn't willing to make the commitment, because I had my family, and ultimately that is my number one priority. So, it's always, I always hit that sort of semi elite, semi pro. And, because the timing of it was tough. You can't do both.
And does your husband train and race, and is he into sport as well, or?
He is into fitness, general fitness. He used triathlons. He always is very supportive of me. He always took care of my bikes and all my mechanical stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Which is the nice part about Hyrox too, is you just need sneakers.
Yeah.
It's back to
a lot
basics.
cheaper.
You race triathlon, you need all this. And road cycling is even worse. You need 2 bikes for every race, because you have to have the time trial bike, and then you have to have the road bike, and everything has to be working. And so it's a lot.
Yeah, totally. And has your husband done a Hyrox yet, or have you convinced him?
No, I think right now he injured his knee, so he's nursing that, shall we say. A sub interest. He's not much of a gym goer. I like the gym. I like outdoors, but I don't like it too hot. I get allergies in the spring and the fall. I can't rely on going outside, whereas I can rely on going to the gym.
Yeah, fair. That's a fair shout.
It's like he'll like to go for a bike ride outside, but then it takes half an hour to get his bike ready, and then 70% of the time he gets a flat. So I'm like, what kind of a workout is that? I like to have my workout time and work out during the workout time, not have to fix stuff, so.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very guy thing. Guys like to fix stuff and do. I mean, I've been around bikes a lot, and I feel like most of the girls just ride the bikes, and a lot of their husbands and boyfriends sort them out. And then most of the guys are fixing their bikes.
My son's really into mountain biking, and he's just out there constantly. He has a little stand. He's spinning the wheel, listening to the gears. I'm like, God, and he breaks his bike every time he rides it.
So too much fiddling, isn't it?
And not to mention, he's broken his collarbone. He's got, stitches in his legs. It's just, no, not for me.
And you're
go on. I was going to say, what about training at the moment then? How does that fit in with life? Have you, obviously what you were doing pre-Nice worked amazingly because you had an awesome result. Is there anything you'd been doing differently, or is there anything you might change this time around?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, because prior to last March, I'd been doing virtually no, zero strength training. Mostly just riding my bike, doing some running, getting to the gym, doing the machines. And then I just started adding in basically the Hyrox movements, because I figured at that point, my energy and time would be best spent practicing the stuff that I actually have to do in the race, because the first time I did weighted lunges, I think I did maybe 100 meters with half the weight, and my butt was sore for a week. I'm like, it worked. So, I've been adding that in, and then but the majority of my training is still aerobically based, whether it be running or riding or stairmaster, or and then I own a ski erg and a rower as of December, Christmas time. My husband, Santa Claus, so I've been working on those. Prior to that, I think before my first race, I had never been on a ski erg, and a rower maybe a couple times. So so I've been working on that, and I'm starting to enjoy them. So I'm gonna definitely focus on those a little more, and I'm trying to maybe think about doing some traditional weightlifting stuff, but I haven't actually done it yet. Like dead squats, deadlifts, I don't even know. I do thrusters now.
Yeah,
I had to
which are
Google.
brilliant for, yeah,
I had to, because I was like, I think I was having breakfast with Lauren Weeks in the hotel after DC, and she said you should do thrusters, they'll help with your wall balls. So I'm like, okay. So I Googled what's a thruster. Like, I'm assuming he thought I knew what they were, but of course
yeah.
like, okay. So now I do those.
Love it.
Yeah, like I don't know, like I still don't know what a snatch is. I see snatches on all these Instagram things. But I do lots of burpees. I try to do some plyometric stuff, like jump up onto the box. I do broad jumps up my hill. So I'm trying to
wow.
well, I have like a nice hill in my front yard, and it's not too steep, but so I actually challenged my 9-year-old daughter. I was like, how many jumps can you do from the driveway to the tire swing? And I did it in like 47. I thought that was pretty good. And she's like, I did it in like 39. I was like, wait a minute.
Get back out there. You're back out trying to beat it.
So I'm down to 42, and I'm like, how not that far? So yeah, it's just those. I mean, burpees are not a bad station for me. I can get up and down pretty quick. But I don't think I jump as far as a lot of people. But I don't. I think you waste energy if you really try to jump. But I think if I practice jumping more, I can jump further with less energy output. That's the theory. So yeah, as far as, I don't know where I was going with this, but I think this year there's so much. I know a lot more. I said I don't know much, but I do know
what a thruster is.
I do know there's a lot more strength stuff I could play around with. But at the same time, like, I don't want to forget like where I came from and the success that just my engine work has given me. Because I think if you forget that this is really, Hyrox in general is basically a very high intensity aerobic event. I mean, there are strength aspects, but if you can't handle the aerobic demand, you're not going to be able to keep going. Yeah. So I'm saying, like, I think you have to, a lot of people do a lot of strength work with a lot of long breaks. They'll do a station and they'll take a couple minutes and get the water, set up the next station. Whereas I really like to keep sort of my workouts continuous. Not that I don't do intervals. I stop for, if I'm doing run intervals, there'll be a stop, but I don't want to get away from the sustained kind of aerobic work.
It's obviously worked as well, isn't it? And I guess this is a really great way to highlight just how aerobic, like, and what a big engine you need for Hyrox, because you've come in and you've obviously said you have this incredible engine. You didn't know so much about all the weight stuff, and you haven't got the background in Olympic lifting or like CrossFit or anything like that, like any of the other girls, but you've just taken 7th in the Elite 15 in Nice. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I don't, heading forward, I know I need to get a little stronger and improve on that, but I don't want to also sacrifice my running too much. Like after DC, I was like, I'm going to try to really focus on strength. And if my running suffers a little during the workouts, that's okay. And I think that helped me. But I don't want to go too far in that direction, so I think it's a balance. And I don't know that I've figured it out entirely. But that's sort of where I'm coming from. Like, I just want to not change anything too dramatically. And if I add stuff in, add it in gradually, and making sure that I can still run. I mean, because if I start squatting heavy things and constantly, like, it makes every run feel like torture. Really. Because you know how it feels. I mean, I don't know how you guys, as I said, ran like any marathon versus marathon after marathon, day after day, but I don't like running on tired legs. Like, it's just not pleasant.
Yeah, it's horrible. I think by the end of it, we didn't really realize we were doing it, and then we watched a video back, and we looked like we were just waddling, to be honest. It didn't look like much of a run. It felt like we were running, but I think we just had such tired legs for such a long time. We were just waddling. It's not a good look.
If you go slow enough, I think you can handle it. But by the same token, it's like, what benefit is that? What it really serves. Right? So.
And what about, obviously you love the bike. What about cross training? Do you have a high mileage running each week, or do you try and do like a split between biking and running to mean that you don't run so much every week and get really tired legs from running? Or
no, I still do a lot of cycling. I just love it. Like, even if it's not, most of it's inside, but I just get on my bike and just my mind just gets cleared. I listen to, maybe listen to a podcast, maybe watch the news, maybe just listen to music. But it's like I can be tired, but when I'm cycling, I don't feel tired. It's just so natural for me. Whereas running, it's a little trickier. I don't know. I like running, but I don't run as much. I mean, I'd probably say maybe 20 miles a week, which is pretty low. And some of it I'll do, like yesterday, I actually did, I'll do hills, like high hills. So the actual mileage is low, at the end of a work, you've done 3 or 4 miles, but I've climbed 4,000 vertical feet. So, it's probably the equivalent of a 7 or 8 miler. But I'm not taking on the damage that I would be doing if I were to go out and do tempo intervals on the road. So, because, I've had trouble with my Achilles and my hips and my glutes, and I just have to be careful. I think, too much running is.
It's smart. It's smart. Because you can take away a lot of the impact, and especially like you say, by doing hills, it's a much better way to get the effect with less impact than smashing it out on a road. So it's
that. And especially preseason, I do those hills probably once a week or once every 10 days. And then I try to do speed work, like real speed work, because as I've gotten older, like, it's just harder to sprint, basically. A lot of older athletes, they neglect that, and that can bring your top end speed down, because that can make. So I do try to do some short, snappy intervals during the season, once a week, I do like a 10-day cycle. So there'll be like an interval workout, a speed workout, and a hill workout. And I kind of repeat those I usually take at least 2 days recovery, some days 3 in between. So I don't necessarily go week by week. Like, I don't say, okay, Tuesday is interval day. It's just, I do intervals, and then 2 more days, then I'll do a hill, then I'll do a speed workout. I also do Stairmaster workout that I like.
Yeah, how'd you say about the Stairmaster?
I gotta say, like, I was looking at your questions for later, and it is one of my favorite workouts. Like, I'll combine sort of single stepping, and then I'll put a I should say a weight vest, but I just use a backpack with like weights in it because I'm too cheap to buy the vest. But I'll put that on, do double steps on the Stairmaster with the weighted backpack on, and then just hop off and do walking lunges with another 20 pounds on my back, and then sometimes I'll add some thrusters into it. So it's like, nice interval session. And that definitely helped with the lunges.
Yeah. And do you train yourself then, Amy? Do you have anyone helping you, or do you just do your own?
No, I do my own thing. Not that I'm not a proponent of a coach, but I don't know. I can't justify it financially right now.
Yeah, no, fair. Like it's working for you, and you've got a background in endurance anyway. So I feel like there's probably not many people that have got such a good background in endurance as you have to.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of a lot. I had good coaches in high school and college. And as I said, I think that's where I learned just the fundamentals of, the physiology of working toward an endurance event, especially one that's, between an hour and 2 hours. If I get up to half marathon, I'm not so sure that, I'd have to read some books. As far as, what I've been training for, I feel like I kind of know what to do. Hyrox is a little bit, it's more intricate. Like there's more different stuff I could be doing, probably more strength stuff that could apply to certain movements. But at this point, I think I just need to, I have the fundamentals that I feel like I can still improve under my own, under coaching myself. At some point, if I feel like I'm running into some plateaus or roadblocks, I'm not going to say I'm not going to reach out, but at this point, there's a lot of time and money going into it already.
Yeah. I mean, it's not cheap, is it? Because the races are all over the world. So
yeah. So, as long as I feel like I can, as I said, if I'm improving with what I'm doing, I'll stick to it for now. I mean, I didn't have a coach like cheering me on and saying like, "Oh, you did great. This means you're gonna get this time."
You've got your own cheerleading squad, haven't you? 5 kids and a husband. That's a
yeah. I mean, I think I do think a good coach will have a lot more than that to bring to the table.
Yeah. I know what you mean, though. It's nice to have someone that's in your corner that you can bounce
on. That you can say like, I did this work. I had a client that I coached, and I love him dearly, but if he sent me what he did and I didn't get back to him within like an hour, he'd be sending me, did you see? And he'd just want me to give him like smiley faces and emojis. And like, that's all he wanted, really.
Oh, so cute.
You have the discipline though. You have the discipline yourself to like, I guess you don't need someone to hold you accountable. Like you've trained all your life, like you have the discipline to go out and do your sessions. So I think a lot of people also look for a coach if they don't have the drive to maybe do it themselves, whereas I feel like you've got that to get out the door and get training. So
it is. And as I said, like, I see some coaches and I'm like, oh, it'd be so much fun to be coached by him, but I don't know that I can justify it right now because I don't really need it, or if it's just because it would be more fun or more exciting. Just like have someone pat me on the back, because frankly, my husband is wonderful. My kids are wonderful, but they're doing their own thing. They did. And I do my own thing. And so, yeah.
But you said, like, obviously, like over breakfast, you were talking to Lauren Weeks and she's like, oh, you should add thrusters in. I'm guessing we've heard a lot that the girls are really supportive of each other anyway. So I'm guessing you.
Oh, yeah. No, I think, and you learn a lot I just learn a lot by looking at
watching them and
what they're doing and listen to some podcasts. And, there's a lot you can learn and try. And then if it doesn't work for you, then you try something else. And the benefit of a coach is maybe he's had he or she has had the experience of training, you know, a zillion other people. But I also, you know, I don't want to say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I know that if a coach gives me a workout and I don't like it, I'm not going to do it just because the coach gave it to me, because I'm very particular. I like to do kind of, if I wake up one day, one workout may not be appealing to me, whereas that same workout might be appealing on a different day. So I don't want to be, I want the flexibility to say, okay, I have these two hard workouts, you know, which one am I more in the mood for speed? Am I more in the mood for like a grindier, longer, like tempo kind of session? Because sometimes mentally it's just too much to say, okay, I'm going to do a 5K tempo or a 4-mile tempo today. Like, you just don't have it. So it's not going to kill my training program because I didn't do that workout on that day or check that box on that day. And I like to fiddle. Like, I also got so bored of doing like 8x1K or 5x1 mile. Like, I don't like those kind of intervals anymore. I like to go on the treadmill and do maybe like 0.9, 0.8 miles. Like, I'll do a ladder, or I'll do like, you know, an 800 and then 3 200s, or I don't like the basic, you know, like a 12x400 meter session. I won't go do. Like, I'm kind of been there, done that, and I'm over it. And I know that and there's nothing wrong with those sessions. They're probably great, but I know that mentally I don't get fired up about them, and I have to get fired up about something if I'm going to do it. And I think the most important thing is doing the hard thing, not what the hard thing is necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And how do you find it being an older athlete amongst the elite 15? Like, because some of them are super young. Like, what, like, is
So
it in the
cute.
dressing room, or you know, like, I don't know, like I mean, I just think it's incredible that you're up there racing. Like, there's so many incredible Hyrox athletes, and some of them aren't making the elite 15, and you are 50 and 50, is that right?
Yeah.
50, and you're racing in you're the top 15 in the whole entire world, and Hyrox has gone huge. And like, some of these girls are like, there's like some 19, 20, 25-year-olds, and they're nowhere near the elite 15. So like, I don't always want to talk about age, because I just really think like age doesn't matter. But it is bloody impressive. Like, do you realize how impressive it is? Do you feel like it's impressive, or you just still feel 25? I don't know. When you've had a warm up.
I only feel I knew something about like not being 49, being 50 was like a big thing. For you know, all these at the outside, you know, 50, she's 50. But like, when I'm with the girls, like, I don't feel, I think they're all adorable, and the guys too. Like, they're really just nice people, and we're all doing the same thing. We're all putting out the same effort level. You know, we may not be in the same place in life. We may not have the same things to chit chat about, you know, if we were going to go out for, you know, dinner, but I'm very comfortable around them. Like, you know, they don't make me feel like an outsider or something like that. You know, I don't know if they are secretly thinking like, you know.
No, I don't think so. I just think it's like, just like
she's
incredibly
50,
impressive.
What if I don't meet her? I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I think I'm hoping that maybe my experience will kind of normalize the fact that older ladies can get in there. I mean, there are some very impressive, like Jezebel Kramer. I don't know if you follow her.
Yeah.
She was a little under, I don't know. She wasn't, there wasn't a lot of talk about her in the later season, but she was at almost every major. She's in her 40s. She holds the record, I think, for 40 to 44. And she's incredible. Like, and you know, this woman from Australia, Marisa Robertson. Have you heard of? She won the 45 to 49 in Nice. So I think I'm not the only one. I might have reached a little bit higher tier at the moment, but maybe the fact that I'm there can, and I think, from what I've heard from comments and really complimentary things, it's that people say that I'm making it seem like it's possible for them to do the same thing. So if anything of it, that, that's what's come of it. So
yeah, no, it's really inspiring.
Yeah, no, about my competitive career, I always, there's always the age group category, and then there was the pro or elite. And I just always signed up for where I thought I belonged, all along the way. And I was like, if I think I can, like, even when I was got into Spartan racing, OCR briefly, for like 3 years. And I would always sign up for the elite, wave, because I figured if I could place in the middle of that or toward the top, like that's where I belonged. Like I shouldn't go in the age group category just so I could, win or, get it. So, so as I got older, I just figured, well, as long as I can still compete in the elite, level, that's where I should go. That's where I should sign up for. And when I saw Hyrox, I looked at, the open versus the pro. And I was like, well, and I experimented with the weights in my gym, and I was like, well, I should probably sign up for the pro because I can do this. I did a simulation, and I was like, I knew I could do it. So that's what I signed up for, because I've never done an open.
Yeah, no, great. And do you know what? It's actually really nice to hear, because I think usually it's, and this is not to like categorize anyone at all, but usually it's guys that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that, and females are quite reserved and always like, oh, I'll go and do this first and do. It's really
Yeah.
nice to hear someone go, no, like I can do it. I know like you're a really fast runner. You obviously tried the weights and were like, yeah, and then you went and gave it a go, and look where you are. And it's maybe just more people actually believing in themselves and putting themselves out there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it wasn't easy, I get it was easy, and I was definitely surprised by the sled pull. I remember at my first one, I was like, oh,
Oh,
this
shit.
is not good. And the wall balls were not easy for me. They still aren't, but I could get through it. So, that's what I signed up for.
Yeah, amazing. And what about your next season? Do you try and choose races, like spread them out, or have the majors been announced yet?
No, everybody's waiting.
Yeah. So do you
Yeah,
have like a number of races in your head that you would like to do in the season, or does it kind of just depend how it goes?
it's tricky. I don't like to race often. I like to do a race and then be able to take a little downtime, depending on how big the race was, and then try to build on, fix whatever holes, and try to work on that. And to do that, I like I think 6 weeks is kind of the minimum ideal time between races. 3 weeks was not so fun.
That must have
Between
been
like
so
and
tough.
it's like that wasn't. People are like, oh, you just kind of chill out between the two races. I'm like, what does that mean? Because I took a good 10 days taper before Anaheim, and I felt like I was actually more fit. That was more like my peak, which I intended because I wanted to qualify, and that was the main goal. And the timing wasn't great after Anaheim before Worlds, but the whole point was that I got there. But it was a strange time training wise for me, because I was tired after all, and I traveled across the country. We took a red eye back. It was horrible. So it was definitely, I felt like in Nice, I was kind of partially running on fumes, so I wasn't super confident. That's another reason why I didn't want to go out like a banshee in the heat, because I knew I was tired underneath it all, like the adrenaline pumping me up, and I knew like my training, it was kind of on that, the line where you're still fit, but you feel like your fitness is starting to decline a little because you haven't done the volume, you haven't done as much. So yeah, but I think looking at the standings, I'm not sure exactly where I fall. I'm not sure how they're going to do the major rankings, but I know I'll be on the cusp of 15. So there's no guarantee I get into the major. I'm thinking about Toronto, doing that, just to try to get a time. I mean, already my time for me, I'm pretty pleased with a 103, whatever.
Yeah.
So if I go to Toronto, the idea would be to improve upon that, which means like I got to get going.
Yeah, because Toronto is not. Is that September? Is it in September? October.
Yeah, which is it's July 4th. Yeah, I gotta get going if I really want to hit that hard.
Get back on that Stairmaster.
Oh, stop playing with the kitten. Stop digging up rocks by the pickleball court that my son get serious. Yeah, because it's one thing to hop in a race, but it's one thing to try to hop in a race and best a time that you that you did when you were pretty fit. So it's a little bit daunting.
I mean, it's been like a whirlwind, hasn't it? I think the only thing we haven't touched on, like, how did you find out about Hyrox? How did you go from? I'm guessing you said a bit about doing Spartan and OCR, so I'm guessing it maybe the link comes there.
Yeah, no, I found it randomly, and I told them I was just sitting at the dentist with my kids, and there was a copy of a Men's Health magazine, and I was flipping through it, and there's a little blurb on like DecaFit, Spartan, and then Hyrox was in there, and maybe something else I don't know, but I was like, it was literally like maybe 2 paragraphs, and I was like, so I looked it up, and I was like, I think I could be good at that.
No way.
Yeah, no, it appealed immediately because it sort of took out all the things I didn't like about all the other sports I've been in. Like, like I didn't need to bring, 2 bikes and my husband to every race. I didn't need to jump in freezing cold water and have my teeth chatter in the woods for like, 5 miles afterwards, like in a Spartan race. I didn't, it's just, it seemed simple, yet exciting enough because there were new things to try. And I always liked, my favorite event in indoor track was always the 1,000 meter. I ran a PR once. I had a really good 1,000 meter race, and I was like, I like the 1,000 meter inside. So
it really was made for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
I love it.
Running too, I had been injured for years. Like I had tears in my my upper glutes, so I just couldn't run fast for like 5 years. That's why I started doing cycling and OCR, because the running was either uphill slowly or downhill, and I wasn't very good at the downhills, but it didn't bother my butt. But then I gradually started feeling, I think this injury is healing. So I started doing some speed training, and I realized I think I could run fast enough in the 1Ks to get through them. So that was fun.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. Because I always liked a good 5K too. I said I'd never do a marathon, but I like a 5K.
Both painful, just in very different ways.
I know. I was going to say, I'm not sure what's worse, to be honest. So, yeah. Neither are very pleasant.
The mental game of a marathon, I don't know. It's a different ball game. You just have to, I don't know.
Oh, well, there we go. Do you want to go on to the cheeky insights? We have 8 questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, fire away.
Do you want me to do them, or do you want to do them first?
I can do it. I'll do them today. What shoes do you wear to race Hyrox? Here we go.
Which I am not gonna say the most popular answer. I run in a Saucony Sinister, which you probably haven't even heard of.
Oh no.
It's more like a traditional racing flat. It has the super foam, but it doesn't have a high stack height, and it doesn't have a carbon plate.
Okay, fair. So pretty stable, maybe.
It's very, so I the first 2 races I did in the Endorphin Pro 3s, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s. And first one I was injured. My knee was injured. It was New York City in June, and I couldn't really run fast. And I really did enjoy them because it saved my knee. It was nice and cushy. The stations, I felt good, but I also wasn't running hard. So when I got to the stations, I was fully recovered.
Okay.
And then I went to Madrid in the same shoe, and I was able to run by then. And I almost fell over in the lunges like 3 times. Like I felt like I had no stability in that shoe.
They're quite
It was
high, aren't they? Yeah.
high. So the lunges were a problem. The wall balls, I also felt extremely shaky in them. Like I felt like I just would sit back and was like gonna fall back.
Rocking.
And then I switched and I tried these, and I really do like them for the sleds, the push and the pull. Like I feel like your contact with the ground on the push is very helpful. Like that lack of, it's a firmer feel. So you feel like you're more connected with the ground, and I feel like I can push up better. And as far as the pull, like I almost felt like in the endorphins, I was on high heels. So as I'm pulling, trying to leverage myself with the pull, my toes are like pointed and my heels are up. And it was hard for me to push against the ground with my feet like I can in these other ones. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like for the runs, they're bouncy enough for me. I mean, maybe I could gain a few seconds in a higher stack height carbon plated shoe, but I like these for all the stations so much better. So yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's a toss up, isn't it, to work out what works for you. So like it is gonna the carbon plated like shoes are gonna tip you forwards to help with your running, but then like you said, for the pull, if you've been tipped forwards and you can't get back, then it's a toss up to decide what you wanna.
Yeah, and I also found, especially for the crowded races, in the Saucony, I did not feel comfortable. I also have a ligament strain. It's like, I don't know, 30 years ago, but my ankle stability is bad in my left ankle. So any side to side motion, that the thing can just like go to the side and snap out to the side. So they're trying to dart around people and make the quick turns in and out, the transitions and the rock zone, avoiding people on the track. Like any lateral motion, I feel like I have much more control in the smaller profile shoe. So
no, that's awesome, and good for people to know if anybody else feels the same or has the same issues.
And my if I compare my Madrid running splits to Chicago, and after, it's basically the same, and I didn't feel like I was losing any more energy racing in the Sinisters. So I like them for now. I'm not saying I'll never change. But I do train in all sorts of different shoes. And I recommend for people who are running a lot not to run in the high stack height super shoes all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Put in some lower shoes, some trail shoes, just get your ankles working a little bit.
Perfect. Awesome. And that's the good thing about running on trails as well. No, it's awesome. It's a really well thought out answer, which is nice to hear, rather than, I like those ones because they're pink.
Yeah. When I cross train, like I wear some old racing, basically like racing flats on the Stairmaster, just so I could, I feel my feet, and I'm using my Achilles, and I think the shoes can weaken the Achilles. And if you do use them, do your heel raises.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh, fair. Okay, so moving on to number 2. What venue is your favorite Hyrox venue?
I was reading this. I was like, I gotta say probably Nice. I've only been to 7. But
that's
it would
pretty
be
good.
Yeah. I liked Nice, and I'll tell you why. Even though it was really hot in there, the elite lounge, like, have you seen pictures?
No,
you guys were you guys at Worlds?
No, we were busy getting ready to get married.
you know, you walk in and it's complete, like I get overwhelmed in large, loud spaces. So, um, you know, I have some anxiety with that. So for me, I have to like take a deep breath and kind of like just relax, you know. So we went in and it's just this huge space, and then you go up the escalator stairs, and they had the elite lounge. So you walk in, it's just this black room, and we each had our own little chair
Oh,
with rooms above it. And every time we walked in, there was like a gift, like a goodie bag on our chair, like sneakers. We got like protein powder. We got shirts. So like, so every day for the briefing, we got something. For the media day, we got something.
that's
For
so
the
cool.
so it's just this like little quiet haven that we could go to. Is air conditioned. The rest of it was quite warm, and I did like the setup. The warm up area was kind of elevated over the running track, so I liked the layout. The whole thing was great except for it was a little hot.
Yeah.
But it was hot for everybody, so I'd have to say that was my favorite. Chicago was nice too, because I stayed at the hotel that was right connected on the pier.
Oh, amazing. So you didn't
And it
have
was
to
a
go
nice
very far.
big, yeah, it was a big running track, you know, and a nice, it was like a 1.5 lap run, which is always nice.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Oh, no, that's cool. That
I've
is an
never,
insight. That's a
I've
very good
never
insight.
been to the London ones, or everybody always says London, Olympia, Manchester. I've never been to those, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear different ones though as well, isn't it? And obviously your experience of Nice, because not many people will have that Elite 15 experience.
Yeah.
But I think now you've just said how much free gifts you're gonna get, that everyone will be trying to make it in the
You
Elite
know,
15,
all
just
these
get
good.
free
I had
gifts.
to, you know, when I travel, I try not to check a bag because it's a pain, and so,
Yeah.
but I had to like pack a whole nother bag and check the
Check
bag with all.
it. You have to go buy a bag to get all your free
My
gifts back
son,
home.
we got like 2 white Hyrox shirts that they must have gave us like a men's extra large, all the women. They were all complaining like on the WhatsApp, like this is the wrong size. I was like, cool, I'm gonna give them. So my sons wear them and they wear them to the gym. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's so cool.
I love it.
That's so good.
Yeah, no, I was like, can I take a picture of you in your shirt? He's like, no.
I'll take the free stuff, but no pictures.
No, I was gonna like, you're not posting it on Instagram.
Oh, bless him.
Oh man. And what's your favorite Hyrox station and why? Which one's your favorite?
I was thinking about this. I think I like the sled push. Does anybody say
Oh,
that?
okay.
No,
I like
I
the
don't
push.
think so.
We've had one guy. I think we've had one guy say that.
I don't like the pull. I like the push. It's always been, ever since the first race, it's been just, I don't see what the hubbub is about with like, it was always just something that I was just good at. And I don't know why. Maybe all the running uphill, maybe the
Yeah.
cycling.
Strong legs, yeah. Strong
Yeah,
quads
strong
from the
legs.
cycling, eh?
I don't know. And then I was outside, you know, working on, I've got like endless projects in my yard, but I think I spent like 6 months one year just floating up rocks and moving them uphill in a wheelbarrow. I was building a
I'll do
rock
it.
crawl path. So I'm like, that like is the same feeling. You know, like pushing the heavy wheelbarrow up the hill. I don't know, you know, but I find it a time to like, I don't know, I just get on there. It doesn't burn my legs. I just can breathe. And I'm moving steadily. You know, I don't know that I mean, my time is usually up there and I'm not expending a lot more energy, I don't think, than other people. So I don't know. It's just one of my, and I get to look around after the dust settles, you know, because people go out so far.
Yeah.
The skier used to be, I think it's becoming more of a strength for me as I've been working on it. So I think I'm kind of middle of the pack in the elites with the ski erg now, but before I was down there. But so with the 2 runs and the ski erg, by then I feel like it's a more real view of where you are in the race. And so I kind of take that opportunity to take stock of things.
Yeah, no, that's
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's true. They do say the race doesn't really start, does it, until the sleds. Like that's the time where it starts to kind of at least settle a little bit and people have got their
no, I just
excitement out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm comfortable there. I don't take I don't think I go particularly fast. I take small steps. I'm up on my toe. I just push the thing. I don't like to break. But I also don't go really, I just kind of slow and steady across 4 times. And usually I pick up a few spots there. So
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you definitely did in the races we've watched. You've been right
Yeah.
up there in the sled pushers. Okay, so if we went to a doubles Hyrox then, who would you choose to do a doubles Hyrox with? Anyone in the world, dead or alive, famous, good athlete, not so good athlete, just for the crack?
I gotta say, okay, and I don't know him as a person, but I am very intrigued by Lance Armstrong.
Not fair.
Yeah.
You know,
cyclist.
Well, he was like, you know, all the, you know, the doping stuff aside, I watched every Tour de France. You know, I watched him like he was like larger than life, you know, and then to see him doing Hyrox in New York, and I was, and he's in my age group. I was like, we got to do mixed doubles. So he's got like, I don't know how many followers and how many comments, but I always comment whenever he posts. I'm like, mixed doubles. Like,
he must know who you are by now, surely.
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. He doesn't follow. You know, he's big. He's pretty big time. But
he's not big time in Hyrox like Amy Bevilacqua.
I feel like I could. Not that I'm better. Like, but I've read every one of his performance manuals. Like I feel like he was just so huge in my eyes, and like to like actually do a Hyrox with him where I could feel competent and like be like, I don't know. I think it would be cool. So yeah.
That would be so cool.
It's crazy when you saw him doing it. It's crazy that he said it was one of the hardest things he's ever done. I mean,
he did. I mean, I can't imagine that it actually was, because you watch him
compared to a Tour de France
in the friggin' Alps. You know, but yeah. So I got to go down to full depth on his wall balls though.
Well,
I don't know
maybe one day.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, watch this space. Maybe one day we'll see you and Lance Armstrong doing a mixed doubles.
If I can get him to pay attention to me.
Yeah,
we'll join you.
Back. We'll try.
Yeah, okay. we'll bring it on and see if we can get you out there doing it. That'll be so cool. Okay, well, we discussed fuel already, and you said you take electrolyte drinks and you take Cliff shot blocks. Is there anything else you take? And what do you do before and after a race? Like, what's your fueling like?
It's interesting. I like, you know, pretty much all my adult life, I've always raced in the morning. So I eat breakfast 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm ready to go by like, you know, whatever time. And so to race these last 3 races at 6:30 at night is very strange. So I basically just had like two to 3 breakfasts.
I'm just gonna do what I do and just do it on repeat until I race.
Yeah, because I like to eat the same thing for breakfast every day. I won't get into what it is, but like it just agrees with me. And then I was like, okay, well, you know, when we were in America, I had to eat 3 times, I think, before. So then I had like a mid-morning snack, and then around 3 o'clock, I ate my breakfast again. Because I was like, I'm just gonna pretend that it's breakfast at 3.
That's so good.
The same digestion. But then I had coffee again too, which is why I probably couldn't sleep that night. But always breakfast and coffee, like 2 to 3 hours before the race. And then I take I like the UCAN gels. Have you heard of this? It's like the special, it's like a long lasting carbohydrate. I don't know why it was formulated. It was formulated for people with I don't know what kind of issues, but I started taking that years ago, and they agree with me really well. So I'll take that like 20 minutes before the event, and then I'll put the shot blocks in my shorts pocket, and I kind of take those. I try to take those as not as needed, but try to take 2 to 3, you know, within the hour of the race with water. So I put just a plain electrolyte in my water, with some, sodium. I usually have sodium and magnesium. This one I ordered recently has some other stuff in it too. But no calories in that. So I get my calories from the shot blocks. So if I don't want the calories for whatever reason, I can just have the fluid.
Cool.
And that's basically what I do. Yeah, it's like a buffet.
Yeah, I know. I know you weren't going to go into your breakfast, but I'm really intrigued what it is now. If you can eat it 3 times a day.
Oh, it's just, I do some peanut butter, some MCT oil, some granola, some cinnamon, some pumpkin seeds, and kind of
cool, like a nice
mix all together. I love honey, and then with honey nut Cheerios. That's yeah. So yeah, it's nothing gourmet.
No, it sounds good. I think I could do that 3 times a day.
It's kind of like, it came about. I just kept experimenting with different things, and over the years, I found that that's, I don't know, working for me, right? Yeah. So,
yeah. And then this isn't on this. This is totally off topic because obviously I don't ask everyone this. But being an older female athlete, is there anything specific that you do? I know, like the conversation now is opening up for like females and female athletes and supplements, and obviously there's a lot more going into looking at female athletes and just looking at male athletes, which is what's always been the case. Do you do anything? Have you changed anything because you've become an older athlete still competing at a super high level than what you did when you were competing when you're in your 20s and your 30s, or have you just done the same thing and you're just like rolling with it?
The changes happened, whatever changes happened pretty gradually. Recently I had some blood work done recently. I felt like my iron was low. So I bumped that up. The doctors, they don't diagnose it until it's like, there's like a point below, above where it's considered low. So they won't, say anything, but it's like, I don't like that too much. So, along the way I was low on B12, particularly when I was nursing. I think that kind of drains your body. So nursing moms out there, be careful. Vitamin D, B12. I don't have a special diet. I eat meat. I'm not a vegetarian. I think if you kind of go that way, you have to be very careful.
Yeah, but you don't do anything specific. You don't take any like specific supplements or anything like that. Like,
I take the supplements that I've always taken. So no, in a way, I haven't changed anything. Besides recently, I started taking more iron. Just because I was feeling weird. In some of my workouts, I was like feeling tired, like I shouldn't have been that tired. And I think a couple weeks after I'd taken it, I felt like I was feeling better. So whether that was placebo or whether it helped or whether I was tired, hormonally things are changing, things can be wacky. But I haven't had any nightmarish experiences with menopause and perimenopause yet. Knock on wood. How
about something like creatine? Do you do anything with because like Stacey Sims says a lot about females and creatine now, and the studies are coming out. Are you on that bandwagon, or have you not started to do that yet? Or?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Are you guys?
Yeah, we've started actually. I think it's I'm quite a big fan of it. I don't know about you.
Like it? Notice a difference?
I noticed a difference, but I think I find it quite difficult to put on muscle. So I did notice that I was definitely feeling stronger. Yeah, but then I don't know. Is it placebo? I don't know. Maybe it is. I find it hard to tell.
Yeah, no, I've thought about the creatine. I actually had a conversation with Zara Reggiani. She's like, you got to start, you got to take it. And then I was going to, but I felt like it was too close to all the competition. I didn't want to change anything quite yet. And so now would be the time to do that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of studies coming out for females and creatine anyway, just as a supplement, not just for like performance enhancing, but also just for as females age, just to support, muscle and bone density.
Yeah, no, and also supposedly it helps with cognitive function. And
for sure.
Yeah, no, it's upstairs in my son's room. All I need to do.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Give him a t-shirt and take his supplements. That's the way to go.
I haven't done it yet. I don't know why.
No, that's cool. I quite like that you're very in tune with your body, and you obviously know what you've done and when, and you obviously just eat like what you feel you need to eat. You have a good diet and you don't cut anything out. And
Yeah,
it just sounds like you're very in tune with what you
perfect.
do.
You know, I think maybe the iron thing was because, you know, I wasn't paying attention to it as much as I should. You know, I do pretty well, I think, with lunch and dinner. I mean, not lunch and dinner, breakfast and dinner. Lunches, sometimes they get a little sloppy. You know,
Yeah, lunches are just a
you're
funny
out,
meal, aren't they?
oh, maybe I'll just grab that or that or so yeah, I started trying to come home and actually cook something a little bit more substantial, you know, some eggs, and then you had to have the spinach for the iron, and then you gotta have the vitamin C so it absorb the iron. And I I went to the supermarket, I asked for liver once. he's like
Oh,
he's
what the
like,
hell?
liver? I was like, yeah, I read that it's really high in iron. He's like, so he hands me, he goes back like into the depths of the walk-in
Oh,
freezer, Stop and Shop, and comes out with like this frozen, I don't know what. And I was like, I cooked it once. I was like, I can't do
no.
that.
No, that sounds rough. It's got a really weird texture, hasn't it? It's better to have it in pate or something like that because
Yeah, no, he's like, well, if you fry it in bacon grease and put it with onions, I'm like, but the whole point is like, I don't want to spend an hour cooking my lunch.
oh
I
yeah.
don't want to. Like,
I just want the iron.
I'm just like, the pills are so much easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not much of a cook, but
Sorry, I went totally off tangent, but I appreciate that. I think there's a
that's,
lot of people that would probably be intrigued about it, and I always like, especially with females, want to know what supplements they're taking because I think it's a
yeah,
really
no, I
interesting.
take a bunch of supplements. Some of them I don't even remember why I'm taking them because I started along, you know, somewhere
Yeah,
along.
and
I
you just
like,
do.
yeah, no, because you know, again, I mentioned I have some issues with anxiety and, you know, panic attacks, and I've been open on Instagram. I posted a little bit, so, you know, some of the things were for cognitive and sort
Mm.
of cortisol, and then some of the things were because I was low on B12, I was low on D, you know, so I just kept taking them. And you know, calcium, magnesium, I take a magnesium supplement every day. I think that's important.
Mm.
But you can't take the magnesium and the calcium near the iron. See, I was just taking them all at once, and then I have like, it's like, no, you have to separate. So now I have to take like, you know, one at the nighttime, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And then you
Really
can't drink
confusing when
coffee.
you have breakfast
You
3 times a
can't
day.
drink coffee. You can't drink coffee with the iron. So you have to make sure
Yeah, no coffee.
that. No, I only
Gets
have
coffee.
breakfast 3 times a day when I race in the evening.
I could eat breakfast 3 times a day.
I,
It's the
I
best meal of
can't
the day.
love it, but I can't imagine eating like chicken and spinach and potatoes in the
Oh
morning.
no,
Just,
no,
yeah.
it's not right. Okay, cool. So now let's move to training session. I think we've already touched on this as well with the, you're gonna say Stairmaster?
Well, that's not my favorite. I got to say
Okay.
though, I was thinking about this one. I think specifically for confidence building, as far as Hyrox, a proper Hyrox simulation
Fair.
will be my favorite. But I did 3 of those last year within the whole calendar. You know, from June till April, I think I did 3. You know, I did one, my first one before I had ever done a race, just to see. And I actually paid one of the trainers at my gym to like time me and take all my splits. And because I just wanted to get an idea of what it would really feel like and whether I could really do it. And then I did another one, I think either before Madrid or Chicago, I can't remember. And then I did one about 4 weeks before Anaheim. So, you know, and doing them under the same circumstances, even though you know, there's no ski erg at my gym. So I just kind of fake it. I pull on a resistance band for like 4 minutes and pretend, you know, and just, or 450, whatever time I think I'm going to get on the ski erg from what I've done at home, I'll just do that. But everything else I can replicate pretty well. And so when you see improvement there, it translated directly to improvement in my Hyrox. So even though I hate them and I dread them, that's
Once you've got them in the back.
one favorite. The other is just what I do, and I've always done as kind of a benchmark for my running fitness, is just a 2-mile treadmill run fast as I can. And I find that if I currently can go under 12 minutes, I'm doing pretty good.
That is good. Yeah.
You know, I used to be able to do close to 11 about 10 years ago, but that was before I was injured and couldn't run, so, but I know that if I can hit about, 11:50 on that, I can make it through the 5 miles on a flat track, running wise. So, and that, it sounds like something so simple and easy, but it's like mentally daunting for me to go do that, because I'm like, it means so much, because I've done that for so many years that I know that if I can only run 13 minutes, like that's it. Like I'm not going to be able to run 4 minutes, 4-minute pace for my 1K. Like it's that translatable, because I've repeated it so many times. So aside from those like kind of workouts, I really like to just do different hard things, but they're all the intervals will be hard, 2 to 5 minute intervals hard, but I play with the time. I play with doing it by time. I play with doing it by distance. I change up little things. So I don't like to repeat the same workout over and over again.
Yeah, fair enough. You like a bit of variety.
I like the variety, and I really like Hyrox because you can add in, you can say, okay, today I'm going to combine my running with sled push. Today I'm going to combine my running with thrusters, or, so there's like infinite possibilities. So you never have to repeat the same thing over and over again. I mean, some people like, some coaches, my high school coach, we did the same workouts for 4 years. Like every Tuesday we did the same thing. And maybe that's why I just have the problem with this. Like, not that it was a bad thing, because he was a Hall of Fame coach. Like he, the teams were really, really good. I just lost the desire to do it. And if you don't have the desire to do it, you're not going to last.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. You've got to keep that motivation, and even if it's a hard session, you've got to want it.
Like sometimes
there's ways to get into it.
Not currently, but like, in March, April, May, when I was really like thinking about Hyrox constantly, like it's the only thing on my mind. I'd wake up at like 4:30 in the morning thinking of workouts like for the day. I'd be like, oh, I could do this. I could use this pill. I could then come in and do this. Like it just sort of, maybe that's sad that I don't have anything else to think about, but so and I think again, that's maybe why I haven't reached out to a coach, because I enjoy that part of the process. And think like, this is what I'm, it's a beautiful day today. I want to go outside and use my yard, or it's a crappy day here, so I'm going to go to the gym. And if I go to the gym, I want to do high hills on the treadmill because I don't like the shaky treadmills. That's, so I just, I like the free flowingness of it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice way to be. It's a nice way.
Even type A personality.
Okay, so then leading on to that then, because obviously you're so passionate about it and you love it so much, why should someone do their first Hyrox? If someone's on the bench, they're listening to you now, they're thinking, I want to do it, I'm just not ready yet. Why should they just do it? Why should they just sign up and just go and do their first Hyrox?
If you like going to the gym, if you can tolerate running, I think it's a great way to just sort of add a spark into your workout life. I think, especially in the United States, a lot of people don't know about it. And I see people in the gym, I'm like, they would really like Hyrox, based on what they're doing. Even if they're not that good, you have to like running. I mean, unless you want to walk, which some people do, but I think you have to enjoy running to a certain point. But it's fun. I mean, the atmosphere, the music, if you like that kind of party atmosphere, for me, that was not the draw because as I said, I get a little bit, that was more of a hurdle for me. Which was nice because now I feel like I can go to these places. I can deal with the crowd. I can deal with the loud music. Once the gun goes off, like I'm good, So, again, that wasn't my favorite part, but a lot of people do enjoy that sort of atmosphere. And I enjoy it when my race is over, when I'm relaxed and kind of like, when you've done something that physically just spents you. So you don't have any more like nervous energy to have.
You've got nothing left to give. You're just
it's just, when I go into these places and I'm already jacked up on, nerves and caffeine, and it's sometimes hard for me to kind of focus in, but that's super fun. Yeah, why not? And
awesome.
it's a manageable space. There's bathroom, like, you're not like lost in the woods. You're not on some bike ride where you're go off the cliff and break your collarbone. Like, there's not a lot of risk to it. What's the only risk? You might drop out because maybe you get a cramp. The bathrooms are right there. The Red Bull's right there. Like, there's nothing,
Yeah, if you're rubbish at navigation and orienteering's not for you, come and join a
Yeah.
Hyrox. Although I'm pretty bad at counting laps, so for some people we still get lost.
The swims, I'd get stuck in a current, and I couldn't. One race I got kicked out of a triathlon because I never got past the aqueduct because there's some like current, and I kept swimming current, like, and I kept looking the wall of the aqueduct, and then I finally made it past, and that was one lap or something. I went to do 3 laps. Meanwhile, everybody else was on the bike. I get out and they're like, "I'm sorry, you're kicked out of the race." I'm like, "Couldn't you tell me that?" I was like, under the aqueduct, not moving.
Yeah.
Like, you made me go around 3 times. So yeah, it's just a nice space. It's it's easy as far as equipment. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And really,
that's a very good answer. I feel like I did not expect that. If you don't like swimming against the current, come and do a Hyrox.
Yeah, you're not going to get stuck in the ocean by a shark. You think of many things.
Oh my God, yes. That is why you should do a Hyrox. Brilliant. Oh. And finally, who would you like to see on our podcast? If we could get anyone on that you would like to listen to, it could be a certain person, or it could be a type of person. It doesn't have to be like an individual.
Of course, I'm thinking about like my older compatriots, but not that. But again, somebody like the Australian Marisa Robertson. She's 49. She seems like a wonderful human being. She just won in Nice. Jezebel Kramer, who may or may not be, I'm not sure how good her English is. She's from France. I would love to hear from Lucas Dorath. He hasn't been on a lot of podcasts that I've been listening. Lucas, it's male. He won he was world champion Hyrox, I think, in one of the first Hyroxes. He made the Elite 15. He's 40-ish, I think. But he had to drop out due to a hamstring injury, so he couldn't compete.
Yeah. He didn't do this, yeah.
I met him briefly. We spoke, and he seems like just quite a gentleman, and I'm sure he'd have some interesting things to say because he's been in the sport since it started.
No, that's brilliant.
Idea. I haven't actually heard many podcasts with him. Now you come to say it.
Lucas story.
I've heard from recently. We've heard from most of the winners of the recent events, but yeah, I just met him, and I wish I had the chance to speak to him for longer. It was a little bit in passing, but being an older athlete with and he has a lot of history in the sport, and to see where he's, what he's thinking about for next year, and if he wants to stay in it, or I'd be curious.
Yeah, no, totally. That's the good thing that's what we've loved about having a podcast, is like all the questions you want to find out about someone, you get to actually ask them. Like, it's cool to be able to speak to you, for example, and ask you like your background and find out a bit more about like what you do and if you coach yourself. Like, it's all stuff that everyone, we can see what you do on Instagram and watch your races, but then to have the chance to actually talk to somebody and find out, it's like it's a proper privilege.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still kind of all over the place. Like, I've only been doing it for a year, and I still have a lot of things to figure out. But yeah, so.
Well, you're doing all right so far, aren't you?
Yeah.
Advice about how to, I never played maybe basketball. Did you netball? What do you guys call it? Basketball?
Netball, yeah. We played netball, but it's basketball as well.
Yeah, I feel like I should have paid more attention in gym class to the basketball. I can't hit. Like, I'm like, why is this so hard? Like, I understand why I couldn't figure out how to swim. Like, you got to think about 1,000 body parts. You're thinking about your fingertips, your elbow in the air. All I have to do is squat down and throw a huge ball at a target, and I miss. Like, I miss the target. So
How did you find that in the World Champs? Were you caught up in the controversy, or
no, I was too far back by that
You're
point.
okay.
I was busy arguing with my judge.
I hit the target. No, you didn't. Yes, I did.
Like, we were told in the briefing, like, just listen to your judge. Don't worry about what it says on the screen, because we got to practice, you know. So they set up the screens. Now the sensor is in the middle. It's like the size of a penny. It's tiny. So they're like, no, you know, even if you hit like what would have been considered a good rep, you know, in your last race, say in Anaheim, where it just had the circle, you know, well, it had the X, right? But basically, if you hit anywhere kind of within reason on that X, it would be a good rep. So they're like, yeah, they can override it. Even if it says no rep on the screen, they can give you a rep. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, cool. So I'm hitting these, and it's no repping, man. I was trying to tell him, I was like, but in the briefing, meanwhile, the judge doesn't have a clue what he's like, no, just look at the screen. Just look at the screen. So I'm like,
You're going, no, give me a rep.
So I as my husband like, I saw you on that live stream. What were you doing? I was like, oh, I was whining.
Oh man. I think because they
they
brought them in London, didn't they? Because we did them in London. And I couldn't understand at the beginning why I wasn't getting a rep. I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, I've thrown like 10 and nothing's worked. And they were like, you have to be exact. Like, I was throwing it slightly too high. And I was like, whoa, that is crazy.
Yeah, no, I usually I got to the point where in Anaheim I was reasonably confident and I had a good experience with the wall balls. And so I was like, okay, I'm not terrified of them. And then I got there in the morning and we got to try them out, you know, in the briefing at like 10 a.m. And I was like, oh,
I'm not looking forward to that.
You know, because I've tried on fresh legs. Like, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm just nervous because everybody's around. I was like, maybe it'll go better. And it didn't go much better for me. Like, I was low to the right. I was high. I was low here. I was like, so at home now I've got like, one little dot.
And you have to hit that dot, not the target.
But it's even hard to tell at home if you're actually hitting it because the ball's this big and the target's this big. So you're like,
oh man.
It's back to the drawing board on those. Because I lose minutes on that. Like,
yeah. It's frustrating, honestly. Yeah, it is frustrating. Like, I mean, it was even hard to watch. Like, how?
Tall, but I'm like, okay, Lauren's shorter than me and she has absolutely no problem with this.
Yeah. All these excuses you're trying to find and you're like, damn.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe she played basketball. And I'm like, oh.
Maybe that's a good off-season sport. Go and become a goal shooter or play basketball and just get your iron.
No, my gym teachers used to yell at me because I was good at everything else. And they'd be like, you don't know how to throw a ball. Father didn't teach you how to throw a ball? I'm like, no, he didn't.
Oh man, well, they taught you to run and you can run very well, and that is definitely.
My dad taught me. He would take me for bike rides, like 30-mile bike rides when I was like 10 years old. So maybe that's where that came in from.
Yeah,
so.
That is for sure helping you out. So Amy, well done, Dad. Where can everyone follow your journey? Is it Instagram or?
I'm on Instagram. I've been on there for a good solid year.
There we go.
I kind of came together for me at the same time. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do Hyrox, I gotta do Instagram. So I am on there. Amy Z Bevilacqua. My maiden name started with a Z, so that's where that came from. And I do some coaching. I'm not calling myself a Hyrox coach yet, only because I feel like I have, before I get into that space, I have some more to learn. But I think I could be helpful, especially for athletes who are coming in with a stronger strength background, who want to learn how to perform in the running and, that end of it. So I'll take a DM. I don't have anything formally set up, but yeah, if anyone's interested, reach out. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, give you a
Yeah, no,
shot and give you a shout
I've
for some coaching on
coached for
endurance.
triathlon and cycling. But as far as Hyrox, I'm still getting my feet wet.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, your background in endurance is incredible. So for anyone that wants to, look at
No, I think
sure doing that.
there are a lot of Hyrox coaches and plans out there, and the sport's new, and most of the people are new, and I just want to make sure before I, officially start doing that, then I feel like I'm ready to do that. So
Yeah. No, kudos to you. That's awesome. And you've got the experience at the top level. I mean, you've got the experience the whole way through. So at least everyone's going to get first-hand experience of someone that's competed.
yeah, I know I know what it feels like to go all out for about an hour or so.
Yeah, yeah.
That works.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh man. Well, Em, have you got anything else to add? Any questions? Anything you want to?
No, I feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours. It's been really interesting, and thank you so much for your time and your knowledge, and your making us laugh. I feel like we've laughed so much on this podcast as well. So thank you so much. We really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. And yeah, thank you.
Guys, thank you for listening. Please give us a share when this episode comes out. Make sure you tag Amy, tag us as well. Give us a follow at Rad Chicks, and hit us up with our DMs as well if you've got anyone that you'd like to see on the show, or if you'd like to be on the show yourself. And we look forward to recording the next episode for you.